going to be clashing brands against each other. So let's dive into it. Today we're doing Pepsi versus Coca-Cola. So the history of Pepsi. Pepsi's story begins in 1893. It's named Caleb Bradham in New Bern, North Carolina. Bradham wanted to create a refreshing drink that would also aid in digestion. So he concocted a blend of sugar, water, caramel, lemon oil, nutmeg, and other natural additives. He named this creation Brad's Drink and started serving it in his pharmacy's soda fountain. After seeing the popularity of his drink grow, Bradham renamed it Pepsi-Cola in 1898. The name derived from pepsin, an enzyme that aids digestion. Although Pepsi never actually contained pepsin and cola, referring to the cola nuts used in the recipe, Bradham believed his drink was more than just a tasty treat. He marketed it as healthy cola that would help with digestion and energy. As demand for Pepsi-Cola continued to grow, Bradham officially incorporated the Pepsi-Cola Company in 1902. He began bottling the drink and distributing it across the southeastern United States, and by 1910 there were over 250 bottling franchises in 24 states. Despite its early success, Pepsi-Cola ran into financial difficulties. The cost of sugar skyrocketed after World War I, and Bradham had bet on prices continuing to rise. When prices fell instead, it left Pepsi-Cola in a financial bind. In 1923, the company went bankrupt and its assets were sold. The Pepsi brand found new life in 1931 when the Loft Candy Company, led by Charles Gulf, acquired Pepsi-Cola's assets. Gulf reformed the drink and aggressively marketed it, positioning Pepsi as a cheaper alternative to Coca-Cola during the Great Depression. One of his key strategies was to sell Pepsi in a 12-ounce bottle for just 5 cents, the same price Coca-Cola charged for a 6-ounce bottle. The move made Pepsi a popular choice for budget consumers. In the 1940s and the 1950s, Pepsi continued to expand its reach and improve its image. It became one of the first companies to specifically target African American consumers in its advertising, which helped differentiate from Coca-Cola. By the 1970s, Pepsi introduced the famous Pepsi Challenge, a blind taste test that showed consumers preferring Pepsi over Coca-Cola. The campaign helped solidify Pepsi's reputation as a serious competitor to Coke and kicked off the so-called Cola Wars. In 1965, Pepsi-Cola merged with Frito-Lay to form PepsiCo, a move that diversified the company beyond soft drinks and into the snack food market. The merger laid the foundation for PepsiCo's growth in a global food and beverage giant, with more products spanning chips, cereal, sports drinks, and more. Pepsi continued to cement its place in the pop culture throughout the 1980s and 1990s with a high-profile celebrity endorsements such as Michael Jackson, Madonna, Britney Spears, and memorable ad campaigns. Today, PepsiCo remains one of the largest and most successful food and beverage companies in the world as one of its flagship brands. The history of Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola was invented in 1886 by John Steele Pemberton, a pharmacist in Atlanta, Georgia. Pemberton was a Civil War veteran who had developed an addiction to morphine due to injuries sustained during the war. In an attempt to create a less addictive painkiller, he developed a tonic called Pemberton's French wine coca, which contained alcohol and coca leaf extracts, a source of cocaine. In 1886, when Atlanta passed prohibitive laws, Pemberton was forced to remove the alcohol from his formula. He replaced it with a sweet made from sugar and added carbonated water, creating a non-alcoholic beverage. Bookkeeper Frank M. Robinson came up with the name Coca-Cola, combining the cocoa leaf and cocoa nut ingredients and designing the iconic script logo that is still used today. Coca-Cola was first sold at Jacob's Pharmacy in Atlanta for 5 cents a glass. Pemberton marketed it as brain tonic and patent medicine that could cure headaches, relieve exhaustion, and calm nerves. However, Pemberton struggled financially and began selling off shares of his company to various partners. In 1891, Isa Canlor, an Atlantic businessman, bought the majority of Coca-Cola from Pemberton and his partners for $2,300. Candler was a shrewd marketer and is credited with turning Coca-Cola into a national brand. He expanded distribution, created a bottling system that allowed Coca-Cola to be sold beyond soda fountains, and launched aggressive advertisement campaigns that promoted Coca-Cola as a refreshing drink for everyone. Under Candler's leadership and later, the leadership of Robert Woodruff, Coca-Cola expanded globally. By the 1920s, Coca-Cola was being sold in Europe, and during World War II, Coca-Cola made a concerted effort to supply soldiers with the drink, which further solidified its global presence. By the 1940s, Coca-Cola had become an international symbol of American culture and lifestyle. In an attempt to counter Pepsi's growing popularity, Coca-Cola made the controversial decision to change its formula in 1985, introducing New Coke. The backlash from consumers was swift and intense, leading Coca-Cola to bring back the original formula just 79 days later under the name Coca-Cola Classic. Despite being a marketing blunder, the incident actually strengthened Coca-Cola's brand loyalty. Coca-Cola has continued to innovate and expand its product line, introducing new flavors, diet versions, and diversifying into other beverage categories such as water, sports drinks, and juices. Today, Coca-Cola is one of the most recognized and valuable brands in the world, with a presence in more than 200 countries. The post-war era saw the rise of Pepsi as Coca-Cola's main competitor, leading to the Cola Wars. Coca-Cola initially held a dominant market position, but Pepsi aggressively marketing strategies in the 1970s and 1980s, such as the Pepsi Challenge. It forced Coca-Cola to innovate. The competition between the two brands pushed both companies to improve their products and marketing efforts. The Cola Wars between Pepsi and Coca-Cola is a legendary marketable battle that spans decades, filled with bold moves, clever campaigns, and surprising twist. Help. If you're new to the podcast, I do this all the time. Podcast called the Melody Podcast. It's just something I do. I flip words. Sorry about it. Let's continue on. The birth of the Pepsi Challenge, 1975. Pepsi kicked off the Cola Wars in earnest with the Pepsi Challenge in the mid-1970s. The blind taste test campaign had consumers choosing Pepsi over Coca-Cola. Much to Coca-Cola's surprise, it became a sensation, and Pepsi used the results to position itself as a cooler, younger brand. Coca-Cola responded to the Pepsi Challenge by reformulating its classic Coke recipe in 1985, releasing the New Coke. It was one of the biggest marketing blunders of all time. Consumers revolted, demanding a return of the original formula. Just 79 days later, Coca-Cola brought back the original recipe as Coca-Cola Classic, and sales skyrocketed. Both companies have spent millions on celebrity endorsements. Pepsi, in particular, has a long history of using pop icons like Michael Jackson, Madonna, and Britney Spears. Michael Jackson's 1984 Pepsi commercial even led to the infamous accident where his hair caught on fire during filming. I actually mentioned this the other day in the Michael Jackson Graphy podcast, Melody Podcast. Coca-Cola has also featured big names, including Mean Joe Green's famous Hey Kid Catch commercial, which became iconic. In 1985, both Coca-Cola and Pepsi aimed to be the first soda in space. Coca-Cola won, sending a specially designed can aboard the Space Shuttle Challenger. Pepsi followed suit later that year. This added a new dimension to their rivalry, literally reaching for the stars. Beyond just Cola. The two companies have battled in flavor soda arena too. In the 1990s, Coca-Cola launched Cherry Coke and Vanilla Coke, while Pepsi responded with Pepsi Wild Cherry and Pepsi Vanilla. Each flavor has its own fan base, adding another layer to the Cola Wars. And just to be clear, with the Pepsi Wild Cherry and the Cherry Coke and the Vanilla Coke and the Pepsi Vanilla, funny enough, those go together really well. They're both practically the same name. But if you've ever drank Pepsi or Coke of the flavors, they don't taste the same. The cherry does not taste the same, and neither does the vanilla. Now, how can you get that different? It's supposed to be the same, right? It's cherry and vanilla. It doesn't change. But when you drink it with Coke and you drink it with Pepsi, there's a different taste. In a bizarre twist, Pepsi once hired surrealist artist Salvador Dali to create a commercial. Dali's ad, full of his signature weirdness, was rejected by the company. The episode highlights the lengths Pepsi would go to differentiate itself from Coke, even if it meant working with one of the most eccentric artists of all time. The Cola Wars weren't just the US. In India, Coca-Cola was banned from 1977 to 1993, giving Pepsi a clear advantage. Pepsi used this time to establish a strong foothold in the market. When Coca-Cola returned, they had to fight hard to reclaim their dominance. The companies have had iconic slogans that played key roles in their branding wars. Coca-Cola's "It's the Real Thing" versus Pepsi's "The Choice of a New Generation" captured their distinct approaches to marketing. Coca-Cola focused on traditional and authenticity, while Pepsi appealed to a younger, more rebellious crowd. During the 1990s, Pepsi heavily leaned into the brand's identity as the drink of the youth. This culminated into this wildly successful Pepsi Generation campaign. Coca-Cola countered by emphasizing its history and tradition, leading to a cultural divide between those who saw themselves as part of past versus the future. In recent years, the Cola Wars has taken to social media, with both brands engaging in playful banter and memes. This has helped keep the rivalry alive for a new generation of consumers, who are as likely to see a tweet or Instagram post as they tell me in the comments. Pepsi introduced Pepsi Blue in 2002, aiming for a younger audience. With its bold blue color and berry flavor, while it garnered a cult following, it was discontinued in 2004 due to poor sales. However, its brief run remains a nostalgic memory for many and exemplifies Pepsi's willingness to take risks. The Cola Wars have seen some truly wild and crazy marketing stunts as Pepsi and Coca-Cola have tried to outdo each other over the years. Here are some of the most memorable. So the Pepsi's Jet giveaway and the most infamous marketing stunts. Pepsi launched a Pepsi Points promotion where consumers could collect points from Pepsi products for prizes. The TV commercial showed a Harrier jet, a military aircraft, as one of its prizes for 7 million Pepsi points. One clever college student figured out that he could buy the jet by collecting points through a loophole in the contest rules. When he presented Pepsi with his points, Pepsi refused to give him the jet, leading to the legal battle. This stunt was so outrageous that it became the subject of the Netflix doc Pepsi, Where's My Jet? Coca-Cola's Happiness Machines in 2010. Coca-Cola took a heartwarming approach with its Happiness Machine stunt. In this viral campaign, Coca-Cola installed vending machines in random locations that dispense not just soda, but also surprising gifts like pizza, flowers, or even a giant sandwich. The reactions were recorded, showing people's joy and creating a feel-good campaign that resonated with us. Sound better than legit. Pepsi's Gladiator Super Bowl ad in 2004. Pepsi is known for its star-studded Super Bowl ads, but one of the most ambitious was a Gladiator 2004. It featured Beyoncé, Britney Spears, and Pink as gladiators in ancient Rome, battling in a Colosseum, not with swords, but with music. Enrique Iglesias played the villainous emperor. The ad was a massive production blending pop culture, music, and high drama to capture viewers' attention on the biggest stage. The Pepsi Max Friend Finder drone stunt in 2015. In a bold use of technology, Pepsi Max organized. Let me stop there. Pepsi Max is what we now call Pepsi Zero. Anyway, Pepsi Max organized a stunt at a massive music festival, and the Friend Finder drone was designed to help festival goers find their friends in the phone signals. The campaign demonstrated Pepsi's tech-savvy image while providing a fun and functional solution to common festival problems. You can call it a common festival problem, but that does sound creepy. Coca-Cola Share a Coke program in 2011. Coca-Cola's Share a Coke campaign personalized bottles with people's names, encouraging consumers to find their names. Most people did not find their names. A lot of people have very complex names and they couldn't find them on the Coke bottles. This stunt created a frenzy, with people searching for specific names and sharing their finds on social media. The campaign was a global hit, significantly boosting sales and social engagement. Pepsi's Uncle Drew campaign in 2012. In a creative and humorous stunt, Pepsi partnered with NBA star Kyrie Irving, who disguised himself as Uncle Drew, an elderly basketball player, and showed up at a local basketball courts to school younger players. The videos of Uncle Drew's surprising skills went viral, and the campaign was so successful that it eventually led to the feature film in 2018. Pepsi's The Ultimate Taste Challenge in 2003. In a bold move to reignite the Pepsi Challenge, Pepsi launched the Ultimate Taste Challenge in Canada, pitting Pepsi against Coca-Cola in a series of live taste tests at public events across the country. Pepsi's confidence in its taste was evident as it active challenged people to choose between the two brands in a high-stakes public setting. Coca-Cola's polar bear invasion in 2013. Coca-Cola believed polar bears came to life in a unique way when the company created an interactive website that allowed users to watch a day in the life of animated bears. The campaign also featured polar bears invading cities with live appearances in Times Squares and other locations, delighting fans with the brights. Pepsi's moon landing hoax, 1989. In one of the most bizarre stunts, Pepsi placed a full-page ad in the U.S. Today claiming that they were going to put their logo on the moon by users. While it was quickly revealed as a hoax, the stunt captured people's imaginations and showed just how far Pepsi was willing to go to grab attention during the Cola Wars. Last one here. Coca-Cola's drinkable billboard in 2015. Coca-Cola created an innovative drinkable billboard to promote Coke Zero. The billboard dispensed free samples of Coke Zero through a giant straw that stretched from the top of the billboard to a dispensing station at the bottom. This interactive experience blurred the lines between advertising and product sampling, drawing crowds and media attention, and you surely could not do that in 2020. So what are the of Coke and Pepsi? So Coke's biggest failure was the new it was supposed to be a sweeter, more similar taste to Pepsi, but failed at it. So they after 79 days they just decided to go back to Coca-Cola Classic, which included the original recipe, not including cocaine. That was just part of the beginning test. It was an additive for cocaine. A lot of people like to say that Coca-Cola was better when cocaine was in it, but not actually cocaine in there. So what was Pepsi's biggest flop? Now, some people might have some opinions on this because I have heard that it was a great product by Pepsi. Pepsi's biggest flop was Crystal Pepsi. It was introduced in 1992. Crystal Pepsi was a clear, caffeine-free version of Pepsi. It was designed to capitalize on the early 1990s trend for pure. Despite the initial excitement, the product quickly fizzled out. So, between the two competitors, Pepsi and Coke, there's this is me talking. I feel like more risks to take, while Coca-Cola just went for it and won. So the question of who won the color wars between Coca-Cola and Pepsi doesn't have a straightforward answer, as it depends on how you measure winning. Both companies have had victories and setbacks over the years, and their strategies have evolved to adapt changing markets and consumer preferences. However, here are some from the battle. So, who wins the market leadership? Of course, Coca-Cola does. In terms of global market share and brand recognition, Coca-Cola has maintained a dominant position. Coca-Cola is often seen as the more iconic brand, with a strong preference in more countries and a higher overall sales volume. Its flagship product, Coca-Cola Classic, has remained the top-selling soda worldwide, and the company's extensive portfolio includes of successful brands like Sprite, Fanta, and Minute Maid. For the cultural impact, both Coca-Cola and Pepsi have made significant cultural impacts, but in different ways. Coca-Cola is often associated with tradition, Americana, and classic advertising like the Santa Claus campaigns and the "I'd like the world of Coke," the jingle. Pepsi, on the other hand, positions itself as the brand of youth and rebellion, with edgy campaigns and celebrity endorsements. Depending on what culture narrative you prefer, either brand is considered a winner here. I say Coke because they make it more, but that's just me. Marketing innovation. Pepsi has consistently been more aggressive, like I said, in its marketing campaigns, particularly with several celebrity endorsements and pop culture tie-ins. The Pepsi Challenge, the partnerships with Mike and Beyonce and Britney Spears, and even bold experiments like Crystal Pepsi and Pepsi Blue have kept Pepsi in the public's eye as a transcender. While not all of these moves were successful, they solidified Pepsi's reputation for taking risks. The global reach and diversification. Coca-Cola has diversified more successfully beyond just soda. The company owns a wide range of things: Dasani water, Powerade sport drinks, and Simply juices, which gives it a more robust. PepsiCo has a diversified, notably with its snack food brands like Lay's and Doritos, but in the beverage sector alone, Coca-Cola has the edge on this one. Financial performance. Historically, Coca-Cola has outperformed Pepsi in terms of profitability in the beverage market. Coca-Cola's global reach and iconic brand have allowed it to command premium pricing, leading to higher margins. PepsiCo, while also highly successful, has a more diverse portfolio with significant revenue from snacks, which can make help me get these words out. Still, when focusing solely on beverages, Coca-Cola has generally been the more financially successful brand. Public perception can vary by demographic and region. In the U.S., Pepsi has often been seen as the more useful and enduring brand, particularly younger consumers, through its Generation Next campaigns. However, Coca-Cola is often perceived as a more classic, reliable choice, especially among older consumers. Hey, I hope you're enjoying this new podcast. I enjoy making it, at least. That's great. I didn't hear you say anything. I just suspected you said, yeah, it's the greatest podcast I've heard in a while. Thank you very much. Look, if you love music, I have another podcast for music lovers like yourself. Go check out the Melody Podcast and learn about music history, your favorite artists, and so much more. Now enjoy the rest of the Corporate podcast. If I can just talk today. And then go check out the Melody when you're done. It'll be linked below. Thanks. The number one product for both Pepsi and Coca-Cola remains their flagship cola beverages. Pepsi is Pepsi, Coke is Coke. But if you're like me, you're probably thinking Pepsi should be Mountain Dew, right? Mountain Dew is indeed one of PepsiCo's top selling and most popular products, and in some markets and demographics, it even outperforms Pepsi. However, while Mountain Dew is a significant player in PepsiCo's portfolio, it doesn't surpass Pepsi in terms of overall global sales or brand recognition. How crazy is that? If you're like me, I live in North Carolina, we're in Dew country. Here's a breakdown of why Mountain Dew is important but not necessarily bigger than Pepsi overall. Mountain Dew is extremely popular in certain regions, particularly in the United States. It's known for having a very loyal fan base, especially among younger consumers and those who prefer high caffeine, high sugar sodas. In some parts of the US, particularly in rural areas among certain demographics, Mountain Dew can outsell Pepsi. That's what I just said. Mountain Dew's marketing has long been focused on extreme sports, gaming, and youth culture, which has helped it carve out a distinct identity that this allows Mountain Dew to maintain strong brand loyalty, particularly among younger consumers and those who enjoy more adventure energy branding. While Pepsi is more of a mainstream cola, Mountain Dew appeals to a more specific audience. We've all heard what we need to know between the two beverages. So who should we crown the winner overall? Coca-Cola is often seen as the winner of the Cola Wars due to its enduring market dominance, global reach, and stronger financial performance in the beverage sector. However, Pepsi has its certain own victories, especially in marketing, innovation, and cultural influence. The fact that both brands are still fiercely competitive and widely consumed today suggests that the Cola Wars are more of an ongoing rivalry than a battle with a definite end. But if it all ended today, we would say that the winner of this clash is Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola has the strong brand, the history, iconic cocaine in their beverage. But if it all ended today, Coca-Cola would win this battle. But it's not over yet, and who's to say when it'll be over? Pepsi and Coca-Cola are still ongoing to this day and are always trying to outcompete the other. And if you work for Pepsi or if you work for Coke, they hate each other. Like, me personally, I worked for Pepsi. They were always bashing on Coke. It was one country versus another. So to wrap it up, here's a quote to start your work week. The best way to predict the future is to create it, by Abraham Lincoln. Do you believe that if those pharmacists in Atlanta, Georgia and New Bern, North Carolina wouldn't have had the idea to create Coke or Pepsi, that those brands would be here today? Multi-billion dollar businesses. They had the idea. They went for it. They created it. So that's what I'm telling you. The best way to predict the future is to create it. Go out there and create your future today. Make the future better. Thanks for tuning in to the Corporate Clash, where we clash businesses to find who prevails above the other. I hope you found it interesting. If so, share with your friends, family, and coworkers. Also, please consider subscribing and following us on social media. Have a great work week, everyone.